Dr. Maxine Newlands, thank you for your time. How significant is today?
Well, it's mainly significant because it's the first former president that's ever been charged with any kind of federal and felony offence. So that's kind of tick one. But he's also was the first to be indicted twice and the first to make many breakthroughs in that respect. So this is going to be, though, a real test for the legal system in America and for democracy more broadly.
Yes, indeed. And he's also trying to be a president that gets re-elected for a second time and is contesting for next year. What impact do you think today's events will have on Donald Trump's 2024 re-election bid?
Well, there's a couple of ways this can go. This process is going to take quite a long time, and like many legal systems around the world, they are quite slow moving. So he's not actually going to be back in the court, so to speak, until December. So there's quite some time between now and then where the two sides of the cases and, the usual processes that happen. But you have got, so that's going to be December. Obviously, then the election is the following November, but we're starting to sort of build up towards that. So there could be implications there, but you have also got two other cases pending that could go to court for Donald Trump where he may have to face charges, and that's the one in Georgia around the issues of, remember the phone call, could you just find 11,000 XX and X votes please, and then when the election was going on. So, and there's another the incident with Mar-a-Lago with the papers. So all these kind of cases are really going to sort of start building up, and it'll be a question of if he still runs for the House, if he's got the support of the Republicans with these legal cases pending, and he's got the support of the voters, would he end up in the White House still with these hanging over him, or even potentially convicted? Because if he's convicted, theoretically, you can't run for the House, you can't be the president.
We've been hearing this morning in the news from supporters who have been there in New York, some of them travelling quite some distance. We heard of one couple from Pennsylvania. They drove 3 hours to be there to show support for Donald Trump. And we understand he's going to give a press conference at Mar-a-Lago later on today, where we presume that he will continue to talk about what he says has been a persecution against him, a witch hunt. Will that grow support for him over the months as he is talking about this case?
So it's a really interesting kind of position. He's gone to Mar-a-Lago because that's where his base is. He's not staying in New York because he doesn't have those kind of, the big rallies and things that we've seen or we've become so accustomed to. So he's gone back to his core supporters. They will always be there. There have been some discussion this week of, even if there was a mugshot, the classic mugshot, we see them with the celebrities quite often, that would become commercialized, and that would actually bolster his support. There's a strong possibility. It's going to be a question, though, of is there enough support? His support has been waning, even though you see some of the footage, but then there's other angles where it doesn't look so much. So there's always going to be a hardcore. Whether that then translates to the wider population around people that feel he is being, victimized because of who he is, that's kind of where the conversation about democracy comes, and that's what we'll see. Or we could just have a lot of noise from a small few, and that won't translate into votes in those kind of, I'm not sure, maybe I voted for Trump in 2016, but I voted for Biden in the last election. Those sort of sway voters, if you like.
And of course, there are other contenders for the Republican nomination, aren't there? Nikki Haley, she's already thrown her hat in the ring, and there's a lot of speculation about Ron DeSantis from Florida, whether he would. And I can imagine that they would be thinking, well, maybe I could try and capitalize on this and maybe, edge Donald Trump out of the way in the coming months.
Yeah, maybe, but it does seem to be that the hierarchy within the Republican Party, people like Lindsey Graham and the Speaker, they're all kind of sticking with Trump. So he does still seem to be the favorite within the Republican Party. You've got people like Senator Matt Gaetz and, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene, another similar kind of supporters, and it does seem within the Republican Party that he is their choice at the moment, and that's why we haven't heard so much from Ron DeSantis, who is very popular in Florida, but again, does that translate, say, to California or New York or those states that are traditionally not Republican or traditionally more Trump supporters. So, it could sort of self-implode, if you like.
Lots to see in the months ahead. This is not going away.
Certainly
One
not.
final question, though. Is it a relief? Has it been a relief to have not seen any violence associated with today's event?
Yeah, definitely. And this is another really interesting, there's been a real shift in that conversation around what they call false flags. So people going in and sort of trying to cause trouble at these protests. So under that idea, then people aren't protesting. So they haven't seen anything yet. One of the other pending cases is the January 6th and whether Donald Trump had anything directly linked to that, whether it was through finance or through incitement. That might be something that we see where we're seeing sort of aggression. But at the moment, so far, there's not been any violence. But again, is that because the base isn't big enough, or is it because they're kind of biding their time, or, who knows? It's American politics, like you say, it is very much like a drama on TV.